lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.
Busy mum of four, Maria Duffy has never looked back since her first novel was published in 2011 after a tweet from a literary agent.
Now on to our fourth book, One Wish, which is this month's book club choice. Maria joins us now. Maria, good morning to you.
Morning.
Congratulations, the success rolls on. Your most recent one, I've got it upside down here, is One Wish. Tell us all about it.
One Wish is, the main character is Becky Green, who has come to Ireland to escape a dysfunctional family in London. And she finds herself pregnant due to a one-night stand. So roll on 4 years later, and she has decided she's going to do this on her own. She doesn't tell the father that, she doesn't let him know anything about it at all, and she moves to a different, she works in the bank, she's a manager in the bank, she's a hard-nosed, you know, manager who puts fear into everyone who works for her. But we see her softer side, obviously, at home with her little 4-year-old Lily, because this is 4 years later. And she decides that because Lily is asking questions, Lily's starting play school, and she's filling out forms, and everything is leading her to maybe wanting to know a little bit more about the father. When she knew him back then, he was an estate agent who was riding on the crest of the Celtic Tiger, so he was a man about town and everybody knew him. So she thought that if she started to look, you know, and see what he's up to now, it would be easy to find him. But she decides to embark on this search anyway, and it proves harder than she would have thought. She reluctantly goes to find him now. It's not something she really wants to do, but she kind of feels she owes it to Lily to go and see, you know, maybe she'd introduce him, maybe just to see what he's up to. But her search leads her into territories she never thought that she'd ever be involved in that's the homeless community in Dublin.
You know, you did, for this book, you did a lot of research with Simon into the world of homeless, and you spent some time on the streets, didn't you?
Well, a short time I did, yeah. The first thing I did, I suppose, when I decided, the reason I did a homeless character in the book and did a bit about the homeless community was that when I started to write this book, I had the seeds of a story, but I always do an awful lot of research into my characters. I build up my characters for months and months before I actually write the book. And I was thinking about this character that I wanted to write, and every time I read the papers or put on the news, it was talking about the rising problem of homelessness in Dublin. So I thought that the homeless community in Dublin would be a good place to set some of the book. So the first place I thought of was the Simon community, so I contacted them, and I went out one night with the Rough Sleeper team just to see what it was like, and it was a real eye-opener. Now it was brilliant in terms of research, very sad as you can imagine, but
was it quite shocking?
It was very shocking, yeah. It was shocking to realise that there's a whole community out there. It's like a community of homeless people. I went out with two of the Simon community workers, Dennis and Martina, who have to be the most unbelievably compassionate people I've ever met. I mean, they were hugging these homeless people. They knew them all by name. You know, we drove around and walked around Dublin City, and, you know, they'd say, oh, I think John might be down at the bridge tonight, and, you know, they'd go looking for him to see was he all right. Or
and did any of the personal stories of the people who were living rough, did any of them, were they outside the norm of what you would have expected? Did they surprise you?
I didn't talk. I mean, I was very mindful of kind of stepping back and not wanting to seem that I was intruding on their lives. But, you know, hearing bits from Dennis and Martine, and of course they were very careful not to betray trust as well, because, you know, we spoke to a couple of people and they mentioned that I was doing research, and they were very closed. You know, they didn't really want to talk about their stories and that. But, you know, one particular guy, these Rough Sleeper team, they have beds to offer, some beds to offer, not enough obviously, but and if they know a certain person maybe is out or has a cough, or, you know, they're kind of aware of people, or they might have got calls about people, and they've beds to offer. So we went to find this one particular guy, and they said, oh, I hope he takes a bed tonight. A lot of them won't take beds, you know, because they prefer to be out on the streets. But they found this one particular guy anyway. I suppose he was in his 40s, or maybe around about 40, and he said he'd take a bed. So he popped in the car with us, and they were bringing him to the hostel. And the Dennis, actually, who was driving the car, said to him, how long have you been on the streets? And he said, oh, 20 years now. And they said, he said to him, and what brought you there? And he just said, a broken heart.
Oh.
So,
and is it predominantly male?
It seems to be. I don't know the figures, but it definitely seems to be predominantly male.
I think it is from having spoken to
male.
Simon on the show. It does seem to be.
Yeah. So,
and especially now, those figures, as you say, are on the increase.
Yeah, but I think there's a new type of homelessness, as you were saying there. That I mean, people are on the streets for all sorts of reasons now, and I mean, the homeless figures. You know, there's people they say are sofa surfing as well. You know, that they don't have a home and maybe staying with friends for a while or whatever, and that's in One Wish. You know, I have some homeless characters, and that would be the case with one of them, that he was sofa surfing for a while. And it's, you know, there's something I mention in the book is something that my mother always said to me when I was younger, was there before the grace of God go I, because we never think it would ever happen to us. But like, there's a person in the book now who, you know, kind of stayed with friends for a while, lost his home and never thought it would actually happen, and then stayed in a hostel and thought, this will be fine, I'll be fine after a few weeks, and then just ended up on the streets.
If your mother gave you good advice like that, why would you give up the permanent and pensionable job in the bank to do something daft like write
to follow her dream?
Well, I never really wanted to be there in the first place. I mean, I got that job in the bank when I was 18. I had only done a year outside, you know, in college, and kind of filled out the form as a practice really, and ended up being offered the job. And of course, at the time, you're told by everybody, you know, family and friends, a good pensionable job like that, you have to take it. So I found myself working in the bank for 15 years, somewhere I never really wanted to be. Now, I did have a good time there, but I think I heard Sheila O'Flanagan last month talking about her, you know, working in finance as well, and she had a good time and she enjoyed it, but there was always probably something there, you know, that kind of drag you towards something more creative.
So did you pack in the job before you wrote the first book?
Yeah, well, I started when I had my first child and had a second one 14 months later, so it became more difficult. I job shared for a while, and then it became more difficult when I got pregnant for the third time. So I had 4 children under 6.
Wow, 4 children under 6?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So it was.
And you still wrote a book?
I still wrote it.
That's quite impressive.
But I started to write it when they were very small, and then I thought, I can't do this. So it was actually only when the last went to school, so I had 4 of them in school, so I had a bit of time for myself.
You started writing again?
That I started writing, yeah. So, so it's been a whirlwind of a few years. It's less than 3 years now since my first book was published.
You've done
and
so well,
One Wish is the 4th.
So 4 kids in 6 years and then 4 books in 3.
Yeah.
It's a fair output. And of course, the most recent one, One Wish, is this month's Book Club choice. If you want to be in a chance of winning a Book Club goodie bag and a Versus tablet, we'd like you to send in your reviews of Maria's One Wish by Friday, August 22nd. You can email them to irelandam@tv3.ie, or you can post them to Bord Gáis Energy Book Club, TV3, Westgate Business Park, Ballymount, Dublin 24.
And if you would like your book club to review our Book Club choice, then email irelandam@tv3.ie with your contact details.
Lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.